Well, the weekend has begun, but that's not the one thing that has begun in the weekend. As you know, the Cinderella Tournament by Stardom has just begun. So I'm sure you all know who you want to pick for the tournament, but one thing I was more exciting is the return of Natsuko, who we haven't seen since the summer after she was injured. Well, not too severe, but now she's back. She teams with Sayori Inoue to take on her BFF Suri and, of course, Chihiro Hashimoto. And we also got two other special matches as well. One as a prelude for the following day, and then another one for whatever reason, but it was entertaining. And then we move on, of course, with AEW Collision, where we have some very interesting matches. Mark Briscoe teams up with who I like to call the Dickwads, Jarrett and Jay Lethal to take on the House of Black. We also have, of course, very other matches involved as well. And then, of course, we cap it up with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling, such as what events the promotions are throwing out, who's booked, what matches are set. We also got updates on, of course, WrestleCon, and also recently a new WWE Hall of Fame inductees and other developments as well. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling, wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel where we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK, anywhere in the world where pro wrestling is not a big, but it continues to grow. We also do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. talk about. We also do more news updates. If I'm unable to put it on this episode, I can put it on a separate video by itself. We also do real timing news updates to keep you guys on alert if something happened in the world of pro wrestling. We also do the Unagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool things as well. But if you like what you see, please subscribe to us. Also click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool stuff on this channel as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, all introductions has set aside, so let's begin with our very first review, and this is from Stardom, Day 1 of the Cinderella Tournament. Okay, Stardom, Day 1 of the Cinderella Tournament. So, if you guys are unfamiliarized with the tournament, if you're new to the channel, let me explain what the Cinderella Tournament is all about. The Cinderella Tournament is a annual elimination tournament. Basically, it's not like the point system. Much like the New Japan Cup, if you lose, you're out of the tournament. But you ask yourselves, what does the winner get for winning the tournament? Well, it could be anything, but mostly when it comes to winning the Cinderella Tournament, they actually make their wish to challenge for any belt of their choosing. Mostly we've been seeing wrestlers who challenge for the white belt mode. Last year we saw that with Mirai, who challenged for the white belt at least twice, two back to backs, and same thing with Sayaka Tani, and so on and so on. Now certain changes have been made for this tournament, but nonetheless, I say this is going to be a good one. But first things first, let's talk about the very first match, and this one is the Future of Stardom Championship. Rina defends her belt against Miran from Diana. This is not the first time these two have tangled. Now, before, of course, Rina won this belt, she has faced Miran before. Um, you know, she called her a little brat because Miran is a bit more younger than her. I think at the time she was only 12, when she met her, and I think she's about maybe 13, 14 years old now. But the one thing that was really funny, as you know, Rena likes to call wrestlers like Tab Nakano, Maya Iwatani a shitty old hag. But the one thing that was surprising and embarrassing for Rena is that her calling those names to those people. Miran did the same thing. She called Rena a shitty old hag, and she was embarrassed the last time. So it was like, well, you keep calling them, so what did you expect? So basically, but I'm sure either Rena might have just realized, okay, I faced a younger wrestler. Maybe I had that one coming. But nonetheless, it was a pretty good match. I mean, Miran has grown a little bit more because I remember she was a trainee when she first started out, but she has developed exactly the necessary skills. But unfortunately, that did not go her way because Rena applied the Pink Devil, which is of course the Gory Bomb, and just like that, she retained the title. Now I don't remember how many victories she has. I know she's determined to break her sister's record, Hana's record, which is of course 10 victories so far. But we'll see what happens. Now, let's begin with the Cinderella tournament with the first round matches all through and through. Our first match, we have Starlight Kid versus Yuzuki. Now, I know some of you would think that Yuzuki would be the obvious choice to win, but nope. Starlight Kid is most likely, in my opinion, one of those potential wrestlers that could win the tournament. And I think that says it all. But she picked up the win when she applied the moonsault. I was a bit surprised that she used the moonsault instead of using either the Black Tiger leg killer. That's one of it would have been one of my obvious choices, but nope. So she used the moonsault and she advances. Our next match we have Sayaka Kurara faces Natsuko Tora, but however, Natsuko Tora out of the blue decided to attack Kurara outside the ring and started beating the crap out of her, tossing her through the chairs where the fans were at. I mean, I felt poor Sayaka. I didn't expect this from her to get attacked like that. But however, I was like impressed that she was able to pull off the spear this time. I mean, those spears that Kurara has been basically displaying, amazing, and she did that um, to Natsuko Tora. But unfortunately, this match ended in a disqualification by Natsuko Tora when she missed Kurara and then she shoved the ref. The ref called for the bell. That allowed, of course, Kurara to advance. Now, she did stated that this is not the kind of match she wanted to win, not like this. I mean, I'm sure that a win is a win, but for her, she felt, I want to win the right way. But we'll see what happens in the next round for her. Okay, and then, of course, we move on with Lady C versus Yuna Mizumori. Now, it's not the first time these two have tangled with each other. Last time they tangled, I think that was about maybe back in 2022, which was really interesting. But you would think that Lady C had learned her lesson from the last time. Well, unfortunately, no. But at the same time, impressed by Yuna Mizumori because she applied a brand new finisher. I did not expect this from her at all. She put her in her shoulders and then she kind of did like a somewhat of a face buster onto her. I don't know what to call it. I know she posted it on her X account and named it something, but it was impressive. I have to say she has grown significantly, and I think this is something new. And she picked up the win, move on, advance in the tournament. Now, our next match, we have Xena taking on the returning Momo Kogo. Now, we haven't seen Momo since the summer. We know that she has said that she has drastically changed, but she hasn't well, she's still with Stars, not to be honest with you. But however, you would think that somehow there will be new things for Momokogo to do in order to pick up the win. But unfortunately, that did not help because Xena was the one who picked up the win when she applied the Thunderstruck and just advances. Now, Xena did claim that she's going to be the one to pick up the win, win the entirety of the tournament. But we just gotta wait and see. We're still early into the whole thing. Next up, we have Rana Yagami. She takes on the Supernova Miyu Amasaki. Well, Miyu, as you know, has a bit more experience than Rana Yagami. That played out as a good factor. But however, you know, Rana Yagami has a bit of a martial arts background, and not to mention those striking kicks would come in handy. Well, unfortunately For Yagami, it didn't do any well for her. She ended up being on the Tenzai, and Miyu Imasaki advances. Next up, we have Raka versus Koguma. Now, I would have presumed that Koguma, who is, well, with her childish ways and, of course, outsmart her opponents, well, that did not work because, as you know, Oedo Tai will probably consider her annoying. They interfered in this match, but the ref did not see it. Natsuko Tora even whacked Koguma in the back. But however, Ruka tossed her over the top, and it was over. The only way to win this tournament is either by pinfall, submission, or over the top. So that kind of ended like that. Next up, we have Saki Kashima versus Saya Ida. You would think that Kashima would definitely try to outsmart Saya Ida, even though she's small, but don't let the size fool you. That's what I always say about Ida. But Saki Kashima would try to do the Kishikase as much as possible, but it didn't work because it was, of course, the Idanashi that put her away and allowed for Saya Ida to advance in the tournament. And then our final match of the Cinderella tournament, we do have Hanako versus the Young Lionesses, Hanan. Now, I'm sure many fans have often said this, and I'm sure many of you would agree or not. Hanan is most likely the winner of this tournament, and she was very impressive. Not to mention, she had to face a competitor much bigger than her and taller. So, how would you think that she would overcome that? Well, she was able to apply a brand new submission move called the Dandelion. It's like a submission move, kind of like the STF, but much different. But I was impressed. I never knew that she had it in her to apply a submission move, but it was impressive. So that's pretty much what we have for our tournament matches. So let's move on to other special matches. Our first match for that, we do have Oedo Tai members Fukigen Death and Momo Watanabe. They team up with the challenger of the New Japan Strong Women's title, Stephanie Vakir. Their opponents are the members of God's Eye, consisting of Konami and Shuri. They team up with Julia. So you would think that this is a prelude before their match the following day. Well, that kind of did. Now you would think that there's various variables in this match. Of course, you got Fukita Neff, who's a high speedster that she would try to outsmart her opponents. That did not work for her because she ended up in a submission by Shuri and had no other choice but to tap. Next up, we have Shihiro Hashimoto and Suri teaming up. They face against the Cosmic Angel Sayuri Onoi and the returning Natsupoi. I have to say it was great to see her. I felt like she hasn't missed a beat, but I'm glad that she is in great health after what she's been through, trying to heal from. Well, the injury wasn't that severe, but she just needed a lot of rest. But you would think that there were moments. Now, keep in mind, this match was requested by Natsupoi due to the fact that she, as you know, back in 2020, Natsupoi was injured, and then she came back and she requested Suri as her opponent for her return match. So basically, things have come full circle. So we know that if you know this or not, Suri and Natsupoi are real life BFFs, and of course, this was great. But however, seeing Natsupoi and Suri face off each other, amazing. But unfortunately for Natsupoi, she did not win her comeback, but she was because Suri applied like a somewhat of a back drop driver onto her, and blammo ended like that. But however, it didn't matter to her if she won or lost. Natsupoi felt that she just glad that she got to come back and to wrestle along against her own best friend, Suri, and I think that's the greatest moment. And they did a little promo, very emotional, all this other stuff, which was great to watch. Now, our main event, we have a three-way tag match. We have Queen's Quest Azumi versus Saya Kamitani. Now, originally we were supposed to have Utami Ashida, but she's out due to poor physical health, so Azumi took position as her replacement. They face against a very interesting team, Tam Nakano and Mayu Iwatani, who are no strangers to each other, one-time friends and teammates. Now they become they're from leaders of two of the respective factions. They take on the co-leaders of the newly formed Empress Nexus Venus, Mina Shirakawa, and Maika. Now, you think there was going to be a lot of variables in this type of match. Of course there were. But however, this match has been now seems like it's been showing the growth of EXV, who are trying to prove their dominance, because it was Micah who picked up the win with the Michinoku driver onto Azumi. But however, during the post match, Micah was intending to say something, but apparently she was interrupted by the appearance of Suri. And of course, Suri comes out, tells not Mayu Iwatani, because if you guys have been aware or not, Mayu and Suri were supposed to have a match for the red belt last year in 2020, but however, due to the pandemic, it never happened. But now things have gone greater. Apparently, now that Mayu is the IWGP Women's Champion, that sets the whole thing. And of course, Mayu was not. But the reason Suri decided to initiate this challenge was because even though she is not a full time member of the roster, she is, of course, not going to miss out the opportunity to challenge for this belt, which, of course, Mayu gladly accepted, and this is going to take place in April. However, Micah has grown frustrations over the last couple of weeks. If you guys don't know what it is, this has nothing to do with the red belt, in case anybody asks. Micah felt that everybody has been avoiding her, basically not paying attention. Like, hey, I'm the red belt champion. Pay attention to me. Don't pay attention to them. But however, thing, things don't go away. And I feel now that Micah's win as the red belt champion, it will always be overshadowed. And even if Julia does leave, the obvious question does tell, do people actually would care? I don't know. But she did issue a challenge against Utame Ashita, and I'm assuming this is revenge for all the losses she has towards her. So we'll see how that turns out with her. So we'll just see what Utame has to say when she comes back. But I think that's pretty much it right now with Stardom. Let's move on with AEW Collision. Okay, AEW Collision. It opened up with Bryan Danielson taking on Shane Taylor Promotions. Now, it's no secret that recently in the past we did see the BCC take on Shane Taylor Promotions due to the fact that they act like they think they're more violent than the BCC. But however, Bryan Danielson, he loves violence. He loves wrestling. That plays into his character. But however, X factor of this match, we do know Shane Taylor is never alone. He has his little flunky Lee Moriarty by his side. Now, you would think that would have been enough to stop a guy like Bryan Danielson. Well, that did not, because he applied a Busaiku knee onto Shane Taylor. One, two, three. It was over just like that. Once the celebration begins, all of a sudden we saw the sudden appearance of Will Ospreay. Now, of course, many people have been asking about this for a while. What was the purpose of what happened last time when Will Ospreay made his debut in AEW officially? Well, as you know, Bryan Danielson is he knows the competition, he knows wrestlers, in fact, who often declare themselves as the best wrestlers in the world, which of course is no secret to him. So as you know, Will Ospreay is one of those guys that fits the category. So he's telling him, you declare yourself as the best wrestler in the world. Why not just why not just prove it? And of course, the perfect timing will be in Dynasty on April 21st. So we'll be 1 month away from that. So it looks like it's gonna happen. So I can't wait to see it. Now moving on, we do see the newly formed the Elite, consistent, of course, the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick. I'm not going by their actual names because that's, to me, that will always be Matt and Nick. And they team up with Kaguchika Okada to take on a couple of wrestlers, Adrian Alanis, John Cruz, and Liam Gray. Now, you would think that this match falls in favor with the Elite. Well, it did, because it was Okada who applied the Rainmaker onto Liam Gray, and it was over. But however, Eddie Kingston made his way all the way to the ring, payback for what Okada did to him last week. And then, of course, the number games was just too much. And then Penta showed up out of nowhere to help Eddie Kingston. And you think again, once again, the numbers game. But all of a sudden, we saw the return, and he made his drastic announcement he was returning. We're talking about the Bastard Pack. He just made his return, and of course declared that if he was looking for trouble, and he just found it. So it's now been declared that by Eddie Kingston next week is going to be a 6-man tag match on Wednesday on Big Business between, of course, Eddie, Penta, and Pac versus the Elite. So we're going to see how that match is going to roll up. Until then, we'll just have to wait till Wednesday. And then, of course, our next match, we have Mariah May, who dressed up like Toni Storm, cool Toni Storm that we all know and love, faces Trish Adora. Now, you would think that this is a very interesting match. I mean, Trish Adora is a very strong and capable wrestler. But however, it was Mariah May with the Mayday that sealed the deal for her to pick up the win. However, during the post match, Toni Storm comes out and decided, to do the Tony Awards, and she gave the award to Mariah May. And of course, while she was on her way to hand over the award, she was viciously attacked by Deonna Purrazzo because she thought in the media scrum that this was over between them. Well, it's not over. And of course, the numbers games once again was too much for Deonna Purrazzo. I just hope she gets a little backup for that. Our next match, we have Nick Wayne being accompanied by that piece of garbage Christian and the rest of his flunkies to take on Adam Pearce. You would think this also is like one of those matches where they set up Nick. Well, they kind of did, but Nick Wayne was able to pick up the win when he applied Wayne's World, and it was over. However, Christian Cage goes out and he rips a poster. It turns out to be uh, Adam Copeland underneath a luchador's mask, and he brought a lot of mayhem with him. However, he had the TNT title in his possession. But before anything else, he pulls out a box out of under the ring that says Spike. I don't know what that meant. However, when this ring was surrounded, Adam Copeland opened it, and then he showed Christian something inside, something that spooked him. So it's still unclear what it meant from there. So he told everybody to retreat. But Copeland did told him that he can't wait to hear those two words from him: I quit. Now, before their main event, Mark Briscoe teams up with Jarrett and Lethal. They take on the House of Black. Now, as you know, Briscoe has been dealing with the House of Black ever since he came across them during when the FTR were dealing with them. So we'll see how that rolls up. And of course, they know that they are in a tough task, but we'll see. Our next match, we have Chris Jericho versus Teton. Now, there was something I did not know, but apparently Tony Schiavone kind of put it out there. It turns out there was another Teton. I don't think there's a relations between this current Teton and the one from years ago. But some reason they said they brought this character back almost 11 years ago. And the person who defeated him the last time was Chris Jericho. So, which was rather interesting. I don't know if it was like a coincidence, or let's just say somehow all come to full circle, however you said. But however, the match was pretty good. Titan, if you guys never seen him, you should check him out in New Japan. He is a member of Los Ingorbenables de Japón with Tetsuya Naito, and he often teams with Bushi all the time during the tag teams when it comes to junior heavyweight division, that sort of thing. But yes, but of course, Jericho picked up the one when he applied the Lion Tamer, and it was over from there. However, as soon as the post match begun, the Gates of Agony showed up out of nowhere and attacked him. Payback for what happened when he decided to help Hook. Well, Hook looks like he repaid a favor by bringing a kendo stick, taking out both the Gates of Agony. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see those two team up to take on the Gates of Agony. Because we know Jericho often said recently that he respects Taz for putting him in a suplex or whatever he did, and Hook did the same thing to him. So this is a rather interesting thing to see. So we'll find out. Now, we haven't seen them since Revolution, but FTR came around to do an in-ring interview with Tony Schiavone. They're not willing to admit. They're willing to admit, yes, we lost in Revolution. We didn't. We're willing to say that even though we got knocked down, that doesn't mean we cannot get back up, which they did. So the real question does tell what's next for them. But first things first, they did say that they're celebrating 10 years of FTR, which is a great accomplishment. But however, the one thing that they have been noticing, and you guys have noticed, the AEW World Tag Team titles are currently now vacant, so they're deciding to put their names in the hat. However, when it comes to that, we did all of a sudden the infantry showed up. The captain Sean Dean and Carly Bravo showed up too. So I don't know what's the reasons why they were there. I mean, for me, watching them in ROH, I would have assumed they when they make a play for the ROH tag team titles. I mean, that would have been the logical choice. But since these titles are vacant, I wouldn't be surprised on that. Now, our next match, we have Místico versus Angelico. So, this is a pretty good match because, we know Angelico has spent many of his years in Mexico learning the submission tactics down there in Mexico. Uh, I mean, he does speak perfect Spanish in case anybody asks, and he normally translates. But taking on Místico would be a huge thing for him because, everybody knows the reputation of Místico. If you guys are not fans of him, then you guys are missing out. But how you think? I know that uh, Angelico does have some excellent submission tactics, which would have been effective. But of course, Mystico, who has been well known for his uniqueness, would have countered it or found ways to get out of it. But, however, Angelico was not prepared when Mystico applied the La Mística, and just like that, he won the match by submission, and then of course Serpentico and Enendigo showed the respect to Mystico. No, they did not attack him. You have to show respect to guys like Mystico, who is legendary. I mean, people often say that he is like the next sensation after Santos, so that would make a lot of sense. Now, our main events is the House of Black, consistent of Buddy Matthews, Brody King, and Malachi Black taking on Mark Briscoe, Jay Lethal, and Jeff Jarrett in an Atlanta street fight. Yes, this became a very, 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 how do I say, brutal match using all types of plunder. Now, the one thing that was crazy from what I saw, Buddy Matthews grabbed Sanjay Dutt, poured gas on him like they were attempting to light him up on fire, but Karen Jarrett low blowed Buddy Matthews and then tossed him off the ring. And then, of course, Julia Hart missed Karen Jarrett right in the face, which was unexpected. But however, Mark Briscoe was the one who suffered the most when he was put through a burning table, but that was enough for the House of Black to put him down and then pick up the win. But as the story goes, when it comes to the House of Black, the house always wins. So the obvious question is this really over between the House of Black and Briscoe? Well, we just don't know. We'll just have to wait and see either coming this Wednesday or this coming weekend with Collision. So we'll just have to stand by on that. So I think that's pretty much it right now with every review. So let's move on with some news updates. Okay, welcome to our news updates. So we have a couple of updates regarding with the promotions. Now, as you know, we're not that far off from the upcoming Kitsune Women's Wrestling Show in LA on the 24th of March for Kampai. However, one match has been announced before, which is a triple threat. It features Milo, Everly, and Aspen Rose. However, Kitsune has announced a brand new ad into this. Maserati, if you guys haven't seen her, Maserati is a wrestler you may have seen in Future Stars of Wrestling in Las Vegas. Has just been recently added in this match, but instead of becoming a three-way, it's a four-way match instead. So it was very interesting developments on that, but we'll see how that rolls up. As you know, Tokyo Pro Wrestling will be here in the U.S., more specifically in Philly for the WrestleMania week. They just recently announced the card for that show. Let me pull that up real quick for everybody. Here we go. Yes. So here are the matches that will take place on April 5th for Tokyo Pro Wrestling. We have Miyu Yamashita, Maki Ito taking on Miyu Watanabe and Rika Tatsumi. Mizuki teams with Vert Vixen to take on Pam Adejuku and Max the Impaler. That's going to be fun. Arisu Endo and Zuzumi, better known as um, Daisy Monkey, they will take on Zara Sakir and Nao Kakuta. Yuki Aino and Raku will be teaming up to take on Viva Van and Yuki Kamifuku. Shoko Nakajima will take on Rio, not Riho from AEW. Rio, this one is RHIO. So, yeah, the other one. And then Hyper Mizzou takes on Billy Starks. So, that's going to be really fun to watch. Um, Oceana Pro Wrestling has announced for their upcoming event called Bret Hart's Presents Australian Stampede that will take place on the 13th of April. They announced for Flex, who will be in action to take on someone you guys actually know, but more specifically with WWE. Shelton Benjamin will be making his way to Australia to take on Slugs. And then finally, Prestige Wrestling has announced for the Roseland show on the 14th of April, we have The King, Murder Grandpa. Minoru Suzuki takes on the Death Samurai Akira. I can't wait to see that match. That's going to be one hell of a match. Now, for updates with WrestleCon, as you know, they announced for two more names. Katie Forbes, if you guys know who she is, she's that one wrestler who does that whole booty thing, but she's also the real life wife of RVD. She'll be present at WrestleCon, but she's not the only one. We got the top tier Jasmine Allure, who you may have seen at Mission Pro Wrestling, will be there too. However, we also announced names uh, for the WWE Hall of Fame for the class of 2024. They announced a tag team that I never heard of. I don't know if anybody has. The U.S. Express. I mean, there is the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, but the U.S. Express, that's a different name I never heard of. But yes, that's pretty much that. Now for some interesting developments. First things first, we want to give congratulations to Emma, um, and of course Riddick Moss, who just recently got married. So congratulations, guys. I did not. We know they were engaged, and I did not expect that, but nonetheless, congratulations. Now, interesting reports coming in from Wrestling Observer regarding two things. First one, we have Sting. This is what they said. Sting told the Young Bucks after his retirement match that he thought it was one of the three best matches of his career. You know, it makes you wonder what the Bucks would think. I mean, I'm sure they're happy to hear that Sting believes that this match is one of their best ones, his best ones. I mean, it makes you wonder which are the other two. I mean, yeah. Hopefully, we'll find out. However, uh, Wrestling Observer reports more about Hangman Adam Page. It reports that he's taking a short period of time off AEW after for family-related reasons. It's nothing negative. No word on when he'll be back. So whatever's going on in his personal life, he wants to take care of that first, and I think that's very important. Now, finally, as you know, they announced for the return of the five-star Grand Prix. Now, let's address something about this really quick. Some people said that last year's five-star Grand Prix was not just a disaster, but this was physically demand because we saw wrestlers were injured or getting injured during last year's five-star Grand Prix. Starlight Kid mentioned this, and she said that she would love for the system to change. And of course, this is one of those things they have talked about. Now, if you guys know this or not, the five-star Grand Prix last about 8 weeks. So they decided to cut it instead to 3 weeks. I don't know if that's a long period of time, but it's good that they are thinking this through for the girls. I don't know exactly how they're gonna do that. I wouldn't be surprised if they're gonna have matches like one day in of that, one day off, one day in. I don't know, but nonetheless, it's interesting news that they're looking out for these girls after what happened last year. So nonetheless, I'm okay with that. So I think that's pretty much it what we have. So I think it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode coming up. I will be reviewing the latest New Japan Cup event by New Japan, and of course day 2 of the Cinderella Tournament by Stardom, and then of course the latest Choco Pro show. But I did mention I'm going to do a discussion video regarding the rookie from Stardom, Sayaka Kurara. If you guys know, you're probably asking why. I did state it on the last episode. Do you think it was a coincidence that somehow Kurara ended up with Cosmic Angels to join the faction? Well, there's something deeper about that, and I can't wait to for you guys to hear it or learn about it, however you want to feel about it. But yes, so stand by for that video. Give me a little time for that because I'm preparing what I need to research and all this other stuff. So I think that's pretty much it what we have. So for now, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang.